Hi, my name is James Savro. I'm a local Washington State realtor, and if you're watching this video, that means you're considering buying a home. Whether it's your first home or your 30th, buying a home nowadays can be a little different, so I'm going to break down the key elements or blueprints so you have an idea of what you're getting into, because it can be a little complicated, but don't worry, I got you. Let's jump into it. So, the 3 agreements. Think of the book, The 4 Agreements. In real estate, it's the 3 agreements. So these are the 3 agreements you'll need to buy a home. Now, the first one you've probably heard of, that's the purchase and sale agreement, which is an agreement between the buyer, you, and the seller where you agree to buy a home at a set price and terms. But to get this agreement, 2 more are needed. That's the listing agreement and the buyer brokerage services agreement. Now, a listing agreement, that's just an agreement between a seller and a seller's agent to sell a home. So if you see a sign on a home or if you see, it on Zillow, that means they have agreed to sell their home with a listing agreement. Now on the flip side, a buyer brokerage services agreement is an agreement between a buyer and a buyer's agent to buy a home. So a seller's agreeing to sell, a buyer agrees to buy, and the buyer and seller agree on the terms. So that makes a real estate transaction. So the steps would look like this. A seller decides to sell by signing a listing agreement, and then a buyer agrees to buy a home by signing a buyer brokerage services agreement, and then the buyer and seller agree on terms by signing a purchase and sale agreement. This would make a full real estate transaction, or as we call it, mutual acceptance. So what does that mean the first step is when buying a home as a buyer? Well, you need the first agreement signed. To get that, you'll need to choose a real estate agent. Now the buyer will choose a realtor to represent them and agree to buy a home. You now have one of the 3 agreements done. So how do you choose a realtor though? Well, pick one based off who's reliable, knowledgeable, trustworthy. Remember, they are your coach and your guide through the whole transaction, so pick wisely. I would say read reviews, check their past sales, make sure they can get the job done and past clients speak highly of them. If you want to see my reviews, you can go on Zillow, linked below. 5 stars, not a big deal. So the 3 agreements. Now you have your realtor, which means you have one of the agreements done. You're 1/3 of the way to buying a home. And your realtor is going to send you homes on the market that match your criteria. And all of these homes have signed listing agreements already, which means technically you're 2/3 of the way to buying a home. All you need is the purchase and sale agreement. How do you get that? Well, the home search. That's the fun part. Most people start here, but you're ahead of the game, so you're, more prepared. With your realtor, you'll go over the 2 hows. How are you planning on buying a home? Which is like, financing, cash, loan. What's the plan to actually purchase this home? And 2 is how long do you have? Is there a lease? Are you moving? What's the timeline look like? Because this will help you get your price of home and the timeline. Now these are key because you're putting together what's called a criteria. The criteria will help you narrow down the home you want because there's a lot of homes, a lot of places. We don't want to look at every home on the market. So now you know your price and your timeline. But we can add more to this criteria with the wants. Now again, most people start here. They want this, that, the other. You're ahead of the game, okay? But now we're at the fun part. So how many bedrooms, what area, square footage, school district, features? Have fun with it and throw them all on your criteria. Now you and your agent have a clear idea of what you're looking for. And you will pick some homes that fit this criteria. You'll look around, spend weekends together, and find what I call the perfect match. Now, once you find the perfect match, you're so close to actually having a home. But you got to win the home. Now, winning the home is a whole video in itself, but basically, your realtor will decide, is the home competitive? And you have to craft a winning offer to beat other buyers, or has it been on the market for a while and you can get a good deal on it? So make sure you have a good realtor because they're going to decide if you win the home or if you get a good deal. But once you do win the home, you will have the buyer and seller agree to buy it, which gives you the purchase and sale agreement. So the offer is accepted because you have the buyer brokerage services agreement signed, you have a listing agreement signed, and the purchase and sale agreement has been signed. You now have mutual acceptance. That's it. Well, Escrow's up next, okay? Escrow is basically the third-party company that handles the closing the transactions. They do earnest money, inspections, appraisals, and make sure everything is funded and the home closes in your name. Now, this is case-by-case basis, but basically your agent will keep you updated with earnest money, inspections, deadlines. Again, they are your coach and your guide, so make sure you can rely on them. Closing. So it'll take about 10 to 30 days to close. It really depends on how you're paying and the terms of the agreement, but that's a good idea. And then once you do close, your agent will call you, you'll meet them at the home, and you'll get keys and a gift, hopefully. And that's it, kinda. I have more detailed videos on the actual offer strategy, contingencies, and what goes into winning an offer on my channel. But if you have any questions as far as like the overview of how real estate works, please comment below or just give me a call. Yeah, happy to help.